Hi, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Come on in and join me. Yes, yes. As I set up here, you guys come on in and join me. Let's see if I can share. Invite people. Good morning, good morning. I am actually doing both this morning. I am once again on my TikTok as well as on my Podbean. So if you're in either space, please join me today. Yes. So hi everyone, I am Dr. Teranda Knight, and yes, I wanted to come on today. I wanted to have a little talk about how behavioral health shapes student success. And so when we're looking at this factor, it really impacts grades. So behind the scenes of students' grades, so many of you may either be going to school yourself or may have a family member or friend who may be in school. Whichever the case may be, this here episode or segment is for you. So thanks for joining. Please share out this live to others because the information is going to be beneficial, you guys. So definitely share it. Make sure that we can get some support on the basis of this information. So, welcome to the Behavioral Health Queen podcast, because yes, this is also going to be my podcast where basically I'm bringing you a real behavioral health talk with purpose, power, and peace. Because of course my brand is never peace, work hard, stay peaceful. And I'm your host, Dr. Teranda Knight. And today we're actually going to delve into a vital conversation in regards to higher education leaders and how they can't afford to actually ignore a lot of the factors that they're faced, whether on a personal basis or whether it is with dealing with the core issues of faculty, staff, and students. So let's get into it. First, I want to start out with behavioral health in the gateway to student success. And when we talk about behavioral health, we're thinking about it from the aspect of what behaviors impact our health, what behaviors impact our ability to do our jobs, our ability to lead, our ability to be the best parent, the best friend. Whatever your goal is, being the best in your professional space. And so when we're thinking about behavioral health and the mindset here, we're going to talk about more of anxiety and depression, which is relevant to a lot of us. Like most of us has had moments where we've excessively worried about something, even though if you're religious, they say that's a sin. But we're all human, right? And that's the whole point of Jesus, Yeshua, coming to help us with our sins because he knew we were going to do so. And so we're talking about something in regards to stress and coping, to substance use and trauma histories, and also just overall mental health wellness, right? Because that's the key. I like to talk a little bit about statistics, mostly because I'm a doctor of behavioral health, and you kind of get into looking up things and finding out that good information that's new and that's come out, that's not old, that people can relate to. And so what I found is that in 2023, there was 60% of our student population that reported feeling overwhelmed with anxiety. Yeah. And about 40% of them actually felt as though they had extreme symptoms of depression, which made it really hard for them to initiate and complete their academics, right? And so as those numbers aren't just statistical data points, It's information that we have to utilize to help protect our communities with our students, our leadership that's working with them, making sure they're in the space and have exactly what they need and support-wise. Maybe you're a family member, maybe your friend, whatever the case may be. There are actual students that walk across campus every day that's silently struggling. There are leaders that come into work every day that's silently struggling. And maybe someone out there that's listening today is silently struggling. Know that that is the whole idea of what I provide, is that I see you. I know that you're out there struggling. And that's the point. So our students, my niche, you guys, is higher education leadership and behavioral health leadership. So those that want to get into the space of that, I have actual assessment tools that have actually help you identify how you grow, how you lead, how you impact, and how you scale. So utilizing my services can help you bring out this dynamic point in what you're trying to do to help the population that you're working with. So let's take a second. I want to jump back into the idea of anxiety and depression, because those are two factors that is impacting our students. It's also impacting our leadership. And with that being said, just know that those two things, not alone, but majority of the time, is leading to the substance use. Okay, the overuse of Adderall and things they need to stay focused in school and get their schoolwork done. Maybe they are overusing or misusing alcohol because it's accessible, right? Students go to parties and these things are there for them. And they come from backgrounds of trauma, right? They come from backgrounds of maybe they left their parents at home and their parents may be struggling financially and they are feeling guilty for going off to school because now they have sustainable housing that their parents may have. So they bring all these things with them when they come to that community of higher education while they're trying to complete their goals, you guys. And we have to support them. They feel alone, but we need them to know that they're not. So it's still one of the most used and misused substances, alcohol is. And now we're getting into marijuana and cannabis, right? As being like one of those other factors depending on what state you live in. Because it's legal, so it's accessible. Students are going to reach out and grab it. It's going to become that crutch instead of them actually learning great coping mechanisms and skills to prevent them from doing that. So over 50% of our actual college students drink monthly. Did you guys know that? Put a yes in the comments if you knew that our college students was drinking every month just to make it through school. 1 in 3 of those actually binge drink, and that means they go to these parties and they're just drinking and they're not engaging, they're just socializing and drinking, right? They are not being able to identify with when they haven't had too much, because most of them are drinking just to socialize, right? Just to feel like they're fitting in or feeling like they're in a space where they can feel comfortable, and that substance makes them feel that way. So this is more than a party culture. We're seeing it's increased injuries, it's sleep and memory issues, it's higher dropout rates, and most of all, the health damage is long lasting, you guys. So the things that we do to our bodies when we are in higher education, starting out straight out of high school, impacts us later on in life. And those are the things that we have to be aware of. So alcohol isn't just a behavior, it's often a coping mechanism. And that tells us that we have to deal with the root, not just the result, right? So thank you guys for showing love this morning. I see the hearts. I think Jay was in JJ Empire Engineer. Thank you so much for joining this morning and showing some love. You guys definitely click the heart above and get your credit and your points for joining me this morning. And if you can definitely help me meet my goal, definitely do so. I've got the hot peppers up this morning. But yeah, the next thing I want to talk about, so we've talked about depression, we talked about anxiety, we've talked about the correlation between depression and anxiety in our college students and how it impacts our higher ed leadership and behavioral health leadership working with them, which also leads to their depression and anxiety, and how that falls over into substance use. And I talked about alcohol. Now I want to talk about prescription drug use, because guess what? The first thing students want to do is say, hey, I'm having problems focusing, I'm not able to complete tasks in a timely manner. I need something that's going to help me succeed. And so they go get prescriptions for things like Adderall. And how many of you know that 14.6% of our students report misusing Adderall, which is a prescription stimulant, by the way, usually to help them study? Right, so the body tends to metabolize it faster. Most medications when you're younger, and the faster it metabolizes means that the more you need to get the same effect. And so for them, they are not looking at the consequences, which would be cardiovascular strains, dependency on it, maybe ethical violations that are there because they're not using it the way their doctors just told them they should use it, or maybe they're underlying those, masking those underlying mental health concerns or needs that they need help with. So institutions need to be proactive. I understand that funding is a big thing, but we can still solicit those professionals in the community, services like mine that are online, to actually just do screenings with the students, provide support services for them, and clear access to care so they don't feel like everything they receive is on campus and they have to be seen for what they're receiving. So thank you guys for joining. Come on in, definitely click this screen and show some love this morning. I'm just sharing a couple of important aspects and things on how behavioral health impacts student success, and it impacts them on a wide spectrum of not just the student, but also with the leadership population as well that is working with them, whether it's higher ed leadership or behavioral health leadership. Now let's take a little bit and talk about marijuana and some of the other substances that students find themselves utilizing while they're in college. Nearly 44% of these students that use marijuana use it yearly. But when you're looking at young brains and them developing, the frequency and the high potency of cannabis can lead to some detrimental factors for them. Psychosis risk, motivation loss, cognitive delays. I can say for myself, when I tried it in high school with a close friend of mine, we decided we was going to go in the bathroom and try marijuana. Well, I couldn't get off of it, okay? And I got exceptionally paranoid and stated that day that I would never use it again. So I did later on in life because I felt like my metabolism slowed down. Maybe my response won't be the same, but yes, I used some gummies when I visited a state it was legal in, and no, it's definitely not for me. But being able to recognize when you're having psychosis risk or motivation loss or cognitive delays is the key to being able to identify when using a substance is not helpful but harmful. Because it's helpful, it's just like any other prescribed medication we get. They all have the same derivatives of some sort of each other. And so sometimes we fail to realize that the side effects that we have is typically, most of the time, you can have with a prescribed medication as well. But because we see them as illegal, we've been taught as such, that it makes that one worse because it's not regulated over those that are prescribed that is regulated but still get confused. And so is it really regulated? But when we're looking at mixing alcohol with cannabis or mixing alcohol with cocaine or with other prescription medications, there are dangers, and those dangers multiply according to how many substances you actually add. Hi, first time mom. Thanks for joining this morning. And thank you for the love. Many students are looking to rebel. They're looking for the first moment to give up. They are numbing their sense of pain with the substances that they're using. And of course, it gets called trauma, right? Trauma-informed human first generations going to college that bring all this baggage of stress with them. And the leadership, who knew? The leadership actually comes from backgrounds of trauma. They come from backgrounds in which they have stressors and things that they're dealing with. And those things are now brought into their leadership roles and impacts their capability to be the efficient leader they need to be in higher education, which totally impacts the students. So where we have the students that has the anxiety, depression, alcohol, prescription misuse, now you also have those that are in leadership that have the same traits as the students. You combine the two, and then we have campuses where we're not thriving and students are not able to obtain the college degrees that they're deciding they want to go to school to get, and they should receive, right? And they should have support there to help them get what they need while they're at college. Many of them are feeding the isolation or feeling like they have to be in socially. They're feeding that beast with substances. They're feeding that beast because they're feeling that anxiety. They're feeling that depression. And higher education leadership and behavioral health leadership that are working with them have what we call counter-transference of energy, which means that they are basically taking on some of those things that they're hearing from their patient population, which are students, of those that are in higher education, and then that projects itself off into their ability to provide the care that they need therapeutically to that population. So what do colleges and what do colleges and universities actually do? How do they help? What are some of the things that are out there to help students in higher education leadership? Well, my service for one, get an assessment done, see how you grow, you lead, you impact, you scale. But most of all, integrated behavioral health care clinics is one of the biggest things that need to be in every community associated with higher education. Wellness, education, and outreach is second. And then peer support networks, trauma-informed leadership, and data-driven care systems. And that's why I do the research I do, because I want to bring you the data. I want you to see what's being reported out there so you know what the problem areas are. This isn't just about mental health. It's about behavioral health, because you can experience anxiety and depression and never express a behavior with it. Okay? If you have anxiety and depression and you're getting angry and you have an outburst, or you're having depression and anxiety and feeling like you have to use substances to feel like you can be a little bit more extroverted when you know that you're introverted, these are all factors that impact our health and our well-being and our capability to be our 100% true selves. So this is segment today is looking at the college student and higher education leadership, mostly because student retention is a big thing. Student loans is not small, it's huge, it's humongous. And the only way to address it is to come to where the students are, identify where the leadership is actually struggling at, and see how we can help students be retained more in higher education and complete those degrees so that they can get those jobs. Equity and leadership. Behavioral health is not a side service, it's a core infrastructure within a system itself that leads to success. It's something that should be added to any basis of higher education, any basis to healthcare in general, any basis to behavioral health services that individuals are actually receiving. So when we think about these things, college students struggle to get there. Okay. Well, first they struggle to apply because they don't really know what's really the best for them. They may know what they want to go to school for, but because there's so much pressure out there about where you go to school, well, it's just an education, guys, to be honest with you. It doesn't matter if you go to Harvard or you go to Yale or you go to UNC or Chapel Hill or you go to Duke University or you go to South Carolina University. It doesn't matter about where you go. Go to school and get your education. Feel comfortable where you are. Evaluate your campuses. Make sure it's the size that fits you. If you feel like you need a smaller school campus, you might need to go more towards the private campuses. If you're okay with being on large campuses, go for the large campus. But know that your education is still going to be the same. That degree paper is all they look at. That transcript is all they look at. And as long as it has those core factors to it, you can still have the same opportunity. I get it. You've seen many people not be given opportunities because where they went to school at. I have experienced that. People don't understand things that are different, but guess what? That's their problem. It's not yours. And you have to think outside of the box of how you can be successful in your own space. Now, let's stop acting like crisis is a piece of education, because crisis really isn't a piece of education. When we center behavioral health, we're centering it around some factors. And those factors is catching the problem early, which is what we like to call prevention. Create resilient students, because that's the whole key. We're going to go through stressors. We're going to have periods in our life where we're struggling, when we have family issues, and we have social factors. All those things are inevitable. Where we lose jobs, we don't have income. Um, they're all factors that many of us experience. But creating resilient students, that means you just keep getting up and you keep going, is the key. And building institutions where healing is possible. Okay, we have to build institutions where healing is possible. It's not just about education. If you're not focused on the person's well-being, then education means nothing, because if they have something going on with them physically or taking a medication that might impact their success academically, then we're not helping them. So we have to have the access to these particular services there for them. Students in higher education leadership and behavioral health leadership don't need us to be perfect, right? They just need us to be present. They just need support. They need to be heard. They need to be made to feel like they are human, regardless of what their titles and roles are. So let's lead with care, not just compliance. And that's mostly because we care about each other. We care about each other's health and well-being and success. And if you don't, then that's something you may need to work on, because negativity doesn't belong in a space of success. Negativity kills things, it doesn't grow them. And if you're not growing something, then you're not being helpful. All right, and that's the way you have to see life. If you are out here creating negative spaces, then guess what? You're not helping with growth. You're not helping people be successful. Now, does that impact the person's resilience? No. The person may still be exceptionally resilient, regardless of what you may throw at them, and that's okay. People just have to know when that negative space is there, and just don't feed that beast, okay? Just keep staying focused, be a resilient, lovable self. And if you're not lovable, if you're standoffish, you don't care to socialize, that's great. Know who you are and be exactly that. So that's all for today's episode, you guys, of the Behavioral Health Podcast. And yes, I'm the host, Dr. Teranda Knight. I am a doctor of behavioral health, and I am certified in Lean Six Sigma Green Belt, as well as I'm a student who study ACT, and I have specialized training and education in integrated behavioral health care leadership. So that is all for today, and I hope today's talk gave you some strategies and things you can think about that you can be helpful, not harmful, and that you can lead the soul. All right, because the soul to lead differently comes with a whole different space. So never feed that beast. Work hard, stay peaceful. If you found this to be helpful, please share it with colleagues, a parent, a student leader, someone in higher education or behavioral health that you feel like can utilize some support, some help, some growth, maybe in just completing their roles. That's what I'm here for. Subscribe and visit my website, which is www.virtuallyrenownedconsultingaccessllc.org, for more tools and talks like this. And definitely go there and subscribe so that you can receive updates on articles and things that I post. But until next time, you guys, make sure you go and follow that social media platform basis that I have on Facebook and Instagram. Also here on TikTok, come join me. I'm looking for at least one or two of you guys to join for today. But yeah, until next time, stay peaceful, stay powerful, and never feed the beast.